Anyone that knows me knows I'm a huge LeBron James fan. Following him from Cleveland to Miami, back to Cleveland to the Los Angeles Lakers. At time frames, people make huge mistakes as leaders. And this should be a learning lesson not to rush to decisions or go half-cocked on anything that comes at you without evaluating the facts and exactly what has happened. To attack a police officer for saving lives, more so than ending one, should not happen in this situation based off the totality of the circumstances. Even as leaders, we must acknowledge when we are wrong to set an example for youth that follow us, who we mentor, and those who respect us in our capacity no matter what we do in our career. The fact is the officer had no choice. He either will allow the young lady to stab another woman, which could cause death or serious injury, or he could take out the person who is about to stab somebody right in the act before they can. Nobody, whether a police officer or a private citizen, would want to be in this situation to make this call in the first place. The fact is, opportunists jumped all over this, hoping for political capital at the exploitation of another death. A death that did not have to happen. Whoever was the legal guardians of this young lady and those who decided to come to that location to cause chaos and madness, which will lead police to be there. Police are there when things get out of your control and you feel that it has escalated to the point that you need a third party to get involved, and this was one of those situations. As leaders, if there's a problem outside, do your best to keep those inside your home safe and away from harm at all costs. What happened out there was what police called their worst nightmare. Not to know all the facts that are going on, who started what, and make a decision in a matter of a split second to either save a life or to watch somebody take a life. There's nothing heroic about jumping down the police officer's throat when he didn't even start the series of events that would lead to the shooting. Police must be police at all times. And I pray each and every day, whether it's police or private citizens, that people make the best decision possible for themselves as well as their family and loved ones. To continue to see another day, or to be able to work things out so it doesn't get to this point. This is what happens when things get escalated to a point that there is nobody acting within reason. As adults on all ends, you failed this young child. Because at any time frame, you could have put a stop to whatever you was doing or did something to stop it before it got to this point. There was police and EMT at the scene, so it should have been obvious that police was there to know not to come out of the house or wherever you are with a knife and try to cause serious injury and expect not to be shot. Common sense dictates on this one. Maybe America needs to see all these shootings going on so they understand the difficulties that police face as well as people who get involved in situations for this type of result to happen. You have to be accountable to yourself first before you can expect anybody else to make judgment over you. We can point the finger and blame anybody else, but this one falls on those who allowed the series of events to get to that point. There has to be a person that says for peace and calm, not for war and rage. I am saddened and disheartened for all the families involved. We still must have decency and humanity, even for the dead. But we must take this as a learning lesson because it's too late for that young lady. She's gone and not coming back. I'm pretty sure she will tell anybody else not to do the same thing because she would be here today if she hadn't. Even those grown-ups who came there to fight, she would be alive today if you decided to turn your car around or walk in the opposite direction and say enough is enough. We don't need any more madness. We don't need any more media attention showing us acting in a way that isn't becoming of ourselves for our success, but leading us to a road of failure where a prison cell awaits or a body bag awaits. I was brought up in a time where parents told people who was out of control even as a youth, you have a choice to get your life together or you can enjoy the streets and the streets will leave you in a prison or a body bag. That was the choices we was given back in the day. It was straight to the point. It was uncensored and unfiltered advice because people got fed up. And that's what happens with leaders when they have tried anything and everything to communicate to those youth that are out of control that we have been fed up of trying to do right by you when you're continuing to do wrong. This is one of those situations where people did not grow up at the right time. And those adults that was all out there, I blame you for not putting a stop to this before it got to that point. She should have never had a knife in her hand, no matter what. I understand the fact of being outnumbered, but nobody was outnumbered. The fact of the matter is, you allowed this to go out of control and you want to blame a police officer because you want to find somebody else to take on the responsibility that you should have taken on before the police got there. This is a sad day for America, but America must see this. Our youth must see this. They must see exactly what can cause your death and see exactly what will give you life and prosperity. We all focus on our youth living out the American dream, not dying before they even fall asleep. But we wake up now to a world where we must be more understanding and not spread hate and division, but understand that law and order is meant for all of us, to protect us. Yes, the system is not fair. It never will be. I can accept that, but I can accept the fact that when police act in this type of manner and they are doing it to the best of their ability and acting only based off of what they feel is the best thing to do, and by being colorblind and not being bothered by the fact of the public outcry, they was there to protect and serve and save lives or to de-escalate the series of events. De-escalation sometimes doesn't come with people walking away the same way that they got involved in the matter. The best way to stop police-involved shootings is not to get involved in anything that can lead to shootings. We see split-second decisions all over the TV, and that may need to be done. There's no doubt that people have to start saying to themselves, do I want to be Dante Wright? Do I want to be George Floyd? Do I want to be many of those who have passed away in circumstances that would shock a nation? I understand the ills of the past, but we must move on to the future with respect and honoring the past and our ancestors. They did not die for us to die out there in the streets before we could accomplish goals that they sacrificed their life for while living and to the point of their last measure of devotion. Police are no different than us. We are all human beings and a part of America. Even if it was a law-abiding gun owner, I would expect for them to act in the same way as that police officer. The tragedy is how many people did nothing to stop it. That's the tragedy. Because that 16-year-old would be alive today. Those who engaged in the fighting, when it had been fighting, but looking for ways to heal and get past their grievance and their quarrel. Not everything has to come with somebody being hurt or harmed. I never made change by burning down a building or being violent to somebody who's innocent and didn't deserve it. That's what we are trying to get across here in America. And my message is different, and it's hard to take for some. Because some will say, you should be on the other side. Some will say, you should be on the police side. I'm on the side of making sure people understand, as well as myself, we must all be accountable and responsible for our actions. That's how I grew up. I'm lucky to be 40 years old. Given all that's happened in society, I never quit. I never quit on my community and never quit on anybody. I always call things the way I see it. But I don't rush to decisions. I learned that a long time ago. And we all have. We all made that mistake and thought one side of the story was the right side of the story until we got both sides. And between, we found out numerous ways that the problem was handled or resolved wrong. But we must become better. It's too late for those who have gone on to meet their maker. But it's not too late for each and every one of you, whether you are under the age of 18 or adult. We are not immune to these situations. We are all fed up of seeing another person dead to the consequences of their actions, as well as those who wouldn't be there unless they was called or they was acting to protect and serve. We must all find that as a duty throughout life. To build bridges, not burn them. To speak to our neighbor and our friends, not judge them without knowing who they are. Being respectful. We can't be the Westboro Church in response, but we can definitely give out some tough love and truth. Because people need it now. Because we have become a society that we don't feel that we are responsible for our own actions. You wasn't brought up that way. You definitely wasn't taught that way. When you made a mess, you were supposed to clean up your mess. Not say to somebody else to do your job for you so you can continue in the pattern of irresponsibility. That does you no good, nor does it do any good for those who follow you. When you're wrong, you're wrong. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was the first to make sure people acknowledge that. He was colorblind. You should not be judged by the color of your skin, because we are being judged now in the media, because the media doesn't talk about white cops shooting white cops. They don't talk about black cops shooting white people. They don't talk about what needs to be discussed, because they want to paint the racial picture and the division. But death has followed through that interpretation. We must show that we are going to come together. We are tired of marching the streets saying stop the violence And it seems like the only people who got the message are those in the march. But even then, they go home and be silent. And that's the crisis of leadership. Instead of being proactive and making sure we put a stop to this by confronting it, not talking around it, not talking away from it, not talking down to it, saying this is the truth and the reality of life. Police must be police, but citizens have a duty to be good citizens. But we know the truth is evil will have its play. We can't do anything about those who we have already tried. At least we could say we tried. I hope America stops allowing the media to dictate the death of their children as well as yours, because it sells, it's for profit. The controversy makes for great headlines. We need the viewership. You have no viewers if the viewers are dead. You don't have a riot on TV if it isn't no riot. Remember, your kids have to walk out those doors too to chaos if you decide to allow it to burn. I talk a different type of truth and a different type of tough love, because I don't believe that our kids deserve to die in any police encounter, nor should they be in a situation to feel like they had no alternative but to act in a way that would cause their death, instead of saying, I will take consequences for my actions and I will be better for it. Our nation is crying for leadership, not for politicians and those lining their pockets that don't give a damn about the people who they serve. They serve themselves, not the people who have to deal with their decisions. I marvel at those who do the right thing, even in the midst of controversy where it's not popular. But they do it out of love, they do it out of care and compassion and understand conviction. Nobody walks away from a police-involved shooting the same, whether it's the police officer or the citizen. Mentally, you're a ghost. At that point, you take on all the different side effects. You take on the blame. You take on the consequences of your decision, even if it's the right one, because even when you're doing right, there's somebody saying that you're doing wrong. And that's most of the time frame the devil working on you to say, I want you to be complacent and settle with it. I encourage police as well as citizens to engage each other and get to know each other. Not as police and citizens, but as brothers and sisters, as mothers and fathers, as brothers and daughters, and cousins and more. Neighbors, friends, loved ones, whoever. Because that's the problem. That police officer showed everybody in America what it looks like to show up at a scene and not know anybody there, but to make the best decision in a matter of split seconds. It's tough when you have to see this over and over again on replay. And the opportunists will show up and do what they normally do. They show up when you're dead. Where were you at when they was alive? Because the crisis of a 16-year-old, a 13-year-old, and those who are young hasn't had a chance to grow and become who they want to be, because they are stuck being led by those who don't care nothing about their welfare. See, you could put your hopes on a political party, whether it's Democrat or Republican, but that doesn't make you into a leader. A leader must acknowledge when they are wrong, when they make knee-jerk decisions, and tell people why. People can understand that and respect it. But when you double down on bullshit, When you double down on allowing another youth to die for your words and statements and to buy $1 million houses to support you and your family and hasn't done nothing for the community or this nation. This is the problem we have when we sell ourselves out or sell ourselves short. Our kids is looking for mothers and fathers, and a lot of them are not there in the picture. A lot of people are blaming people for not being a success, but I pity those who are blind, lost a leg, or going through sickness and pain that continues to fight and doesn't even have the simple advantages that most have in this country. Protect them as much as you protect yourself, and understand that life is not fair, but do your best to make sure that you are a leader to those that follow you, and understand what you do, people are watching at all times. Our leaders is acting like a bunch of circuses and a bunch of cockroaches that they are. How dare you use death for political gain? And that's what is happening here. There used to be leaders that was responsible when they sent their soldiers into war. They was in the front lines with them. They used to show up at their hospital bed and be there at their funeral, but they also be there at their cookouts and barbecue and bonding and showing love for each other and showing that each other could depend on each other to do what was right. And they had somebody to remind them. That's what we need now. A politician can't do this because they are bought off by the system. It's those at ground zero that live the consequences. That includes police. They have to protect people based off of decisions that are made by lawmakers and execute them whether it goes against their own morals and convictions. They gave that up to be neutral. But when you as an officer or you as a citizen can't be that way, it's up to you to make that change. That's the duty in you. No book is going to do that. Experience does. I encourage people to get to know somebody of a different background. If they send you an invite to come to their home for dinner, go. Learn from each other. Understand their traditions. It may be something they know that can help you out, but that was the missing piece in the puzzle for you to accomplish a goal. But sometimes we are stuck in our own way of thinking without listening to others or thinking it's a better way. That's not the fault of somebody else. That's the fault of you. The same way with our vote, the same way with our decisions. There are consequences. And if we continue to sell ourselves out, Republican, Democrat, conservative, or independent, or whoever you are, and we continue to have the same people running this country that has drove this country into a ditch, has drove our kids to make decisions like this. Just because you're a politician, you still must act as a parent, a mentor, and a leader. The destruction of our kids can never be acceptable or the new normal. Our kids must see us be responsible, hold accountability, and acknowledge that we are here in your best interest and not in our own. Because they pay the price. We paying the price right now because we didn't stand up for ourselves and for our families at a time frame that they needed us to. Because see, our fathers and our forefathers, they was there to protect us. They was there to give their life to make sure that their family can live. If there was somebody who was going to give up the sacrifice, it was going to be the father first and then the mother all the way down the line. There was that bridge of protection. It was that cement there, that barrier that let children know, yes, they represent us and they love us. Just because it ain't your child, just because it ain't your loved one, it doesn't matter who they are. If you want to see change, the change starts with you. The critical race theory and all that other bullshit that's out there, that does nothing if it ain't any experience. That's why I don't placate to it. I get to know people. I don't hear about hearsay or what somebody else tells me I should know about you. I find out for myself. Because the people who are telling you sometimes to stay away from somebody is because they got skeletons in their closet that they know the other person knows. So it's easier when you never speak because you don't have to deal with the reality so you can continue on with your BS. People have judged me. But trust me, you have been judged too, no matter who you are. Aren't you tired of it? Aren't you tired of somebody speaking about you who don't know you? That's the politicians in D.C. and the same ones in Richmond. That's why they don't understand what America's going through, because they're not going through it. Ain't that something? They play by a different playbook and different set of laws. But you play by everything that they put down on paper, and they don't even honor. So I'm praying for all the families. The police officer made the right decision. It is those parents and those who was involved in that mess who failed that child. We live in moments, and I hope right now you are in a moment where you change who you are and how you handle things. So you are not that situation. You are not that police officer. You're not that girl with that knife. You're not the people out there fighting and basically causing havoc. I'd rather you be building your community up, building your business, having your career that you earned, living a life in peace and learning what everybody wants. They want to be accepted. And I believe in some kind of way, they all want to be accepted because guess what? They accepted death before they accepted life. That's why I'm pro-life too. So to the youth out there, don't believe what you see on TV is exactly what's going on all across this country. Walk outside your doors and see all your friends and family and those who love about you. They are the real picture of America. That's who you should listen to. Not somebody who puts out anything and everything just to cause division and fan flames. It's time we talk to each other. Democrat, Republican, Independent, Conservative, doesn't matter who you are. Don't worry about saying you're a Republican when you meet. Don't worry about saying you're a Democrat. I don't want to hear that shit. Tell me about who you are, how you grew up, and what made you into the person that you are today. That's what we need to start doing. When we understand how people grew up in their life story, and we take the time to do it, we will see we are more together than ever before and more unified. We can die 1,000 deaths, but I pray America only has to die one time. And it doesn't mean in the grave, but put to rest the hate and division and make sure we get America, our families, our freedom and peace back, where it no longer depends on government, but the responsibility is on all of us. My name is Merle Rutledge, and I am running for, not just running for, but to become the next leader, to take on that responsibility for our youth to grow and blossom. And for those who own a business and for those who want to strive in their career, have the opportunity. I want you to embrace that more than you embrace the negatives and the naysayers and those who say you can't. Because here in Virginia, we will. Across America, we will. But we can't continue in this direction. Once again, I'm Merle Rutledge. God bless you and God bless America, and I hope to be your next governor. Not a politician, but where real leadership matters for you, your family, your business, and for our Lord and Savior. Amen.